We're actually going to start from where we left off yesterday, and we're talking about elastic audio today. Now, elastic audio is a way that you can basically adjust the timing of audio clips without adjusting the pitch of audio clips. So if we talk about like old school sampling, sampling back from the 80s, 90s, if you adjust the pitch of the sample, like a record player, if you speed up a record player, what's going to happen is the pitch is going to go up as well. And if you slow down a record player, the pitch is going to go down as well. The pitch and the time are connected together. If you remember from module 1 where we talked about you talked about waveforms, and if a waveform is moving faster, the pitch goes up. Excuse me. Sorry, let me just mute this for a second. All right, so if you have a record player, you speed it up, the waveform gets faster, the cycles get closer together, the pitch goes up. If you slow down the record player, the waves, the cycles get further apart, the waveform gets longer, the pitch goes down. And this happens with everything in audio. If you have anything where you're speeding up, the pitch is going to go up, and vice versa. If you take the pitch and go up, it's also going to speed up. Okay, so what we're doing here with this, with elastic audio, what happens is it actually disconnects all that stuff. So if you slow it down, the pitch is not going to go down. Or if you put the pitch down, it's not going to slow down. Those two things now become disconnected. So think about, you've got the pitch and you've got the time. And those are usually connected like this. They're just connected. So one goes up, the other goes up, one goes down, the other goes down. But if we use elastic audio, I can disconnect those things so that if I take the pitch and go up with the pitch, the timing does not, the speed does not also go up. The speed can stay the same. Or if I go down, if I slow it down, the pitch is not necessarily going to go down. They're not always connected like that. So this is what we're doing with elastic audio. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to go into my session that I had yesterday, and this is what you're going to be doing today a bit as well. You're going to go into your Pro Tools Lab 3 where you comped everything together. And we're going to actually join these together here. So let's go ahead and just listen to this real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
All right, so a few things are going on here. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this bigger so I can edit it here. I'm just going to make this nice and big. I'm going to zoom in on it. And now I'm going to just go ahead and adjust some things just by moving the clip around. So I'm going to turn on my metronome here, and let's listen to this.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Right? So you can hear that some things are fast, some things are slow, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead, and before I do my elastic audio, I'm going to move a couple of these around just by using the clips here. So like this one here, this laugh, I want it to go over here on the end like that. Now what that means is I'm going to have to actually grab this and fill in this little area here, because we don't want to have any gaps of silence in here, because you can hear what happens when there's silence. It actually creates, you can hear the gap of silence, because silence is like true silence, right? And this isn't true silence. What's going on in here is, let me just go ahead and move this over. What's happening is we've got the sound of the room that the mic is picking up. And what the mic picks up, something that's going to be a little bit hard to mess around with. What the mic picks up is this like woo type of sound. And so if we have that, like just a silence, we're going to hear that gap in here. So you can hear all those little pops and stuff like that. So I want to get rid of those. I'm just going to go ahead and crossfade some of these. And you can see I'm using my Smart Tool to do all of this here. So I'm not actually switching tools here. And now let's listen to it. I'm going to go ahead and put a fade on the beginning here and a fade on the end as well. So now let's go in here and take a listen to this.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Okay, cool. So you can hear now it's nice and straight across. Actually, you know what? Let me undo all of that real quick here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to redo it. I'm going to copy and paste it here. So I'm just going to grab all this stuff. I'm going to hit Command C. And this is something I forgot to do. Before we start working on this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a new comp here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this comp 01. So this comp, I'm going to put .01. And I'm going to duplicate it. And what that's going to do is it actually just makes a copy of it here. Actually, before I do that, hold on a second. Let's undo all this now. Because I want to hear the gaps. I want to be able to go back and forth between the gap part and the non-gap part. So I'm going to duplicate it. There we go. .02. Oh, there's already a comping .01. Oh, I see. It's down here. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So, comp. And I'm going to name this, double click to name it, .01. I'm going to duplicate it, .02. There we go. I'm going to just copy, I'm going to paste this in. Oh, it's not going to let me paste it in. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is, is I'm going to go back and edit these again real quick. Move this one over like that. I'm going to adjust some of these here. There we go. Move that. Duplicate this stuff over. And basically, I just want to make it so it's nice and smooth. I'm doing it again. I just did it a second ago. The reason why I'm doing it again is because I forgot to make a copy of the original. Because I want to go back and forth with these a little bit so you can hear the difference before and after. And this is a big part of comping stuff. This part that I'm doing right now is a really big part to make sure everything is super smooth. Because if everything's not smooth, we're going to hear all the bits and the bops in there, and it's not going to sound very good. I'm using my command brackets to zoom in and out. There we go. Okay, cool. So let's go over here. Let's listen to the original one. I'm going to turn off my playlist here so we're not seeing the playlist anymore. And I'm just going to go to my counting 01 here.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
So you hear all the pops and the clicks. You hear all of these bits of silence in here, like this right here, this bit of silence. You can hear all that. And what I just did is I put it all together, make it nice and smooth. So now,
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
all right. So now it's much smoother. So we're not hearing all the gaps between stuff. The timing is still a bit off, but we're gonna fix that with the elastic audio. Okay. So now that I've got this nice and smooth here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make another duplicate of this because I want to be able to show you this all later. I'm going to duplicate this again, hit enter, and now I'm going to take all of these things and I'm going to glue them together into one new audio track. And I'm going to do that by using Consolidate. It's under here, under Edit, down at near the bottom, Consolidate Clip. This is probably one of the most useful features that you're going to be using with any kind of editing. And you're going to use this with anything like Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton Live, FL Studio, whatever. This idea of putting these clips together into one new clip is super, super, super important. So the way we do this is Option Shift 3. Now, it's a very convoluted way to do it in Pro Tools. It's really crazy that they didn't make it easier to do. But the reason why it's like this T says, I wish Pro Tools had a glue button like Logic. Well, I'll talk about that in just a second. But basically, Option Shift 3 here is the shortcut for doing it. And actually, I never use the glue button in Logic. I use Command J to join. I'm pretty sure that's the shortcut in Logic. And because switching between your tools is actually a lot more time consuming than just using the shortcut. So what I really recommend that you do, T, is learn that shortcut and don't use the glue button, but actually use the shortcut for stuff. Now, sometimes the glue button is really important, but the shortcut is way, way easier. And when I use Logic, I hardly ever use the glue button. I usually use the shortcut for it, which is Command J, and same thing with Ableton Live. Yeah, Ableton Live is also Command J. This is one of the most useful commands that you can learn. Like I said, in Pro Tools Logic, Command J. In Pro Tools, it's weird. It's Option Shift 3. I think the reason why it's so weird in Pro Tools is because you got to remember the history of these things. Pro Tools came from the late 80s, and it was already editing audio in the late 80s. So making a new audio clip in the late 80s wasn't really something that you should do all the time. So it's like Option Shift 3 is very weird because it's something that we should use a lot. So I just got really used to it. Option Shift 3. My fingers just kind of live in this kind of position like this, where I can just hit that Option Shift 3 with one hand and I can join it together. So let's just go through this one more time. This is the original one right here, and let's listen to it again.
1, 2.
Hear that pop in the beginning?
1.
Right?
1, 2.
Horrible.
3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
There we go. Cool. The shortcut joins these clips together. So here's the second one where I actually kind of do some crossfading and stuff. Let's listen to how smooth this is now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Okay, nice and smooth. And now what I'm going to do is with this Option Shift 3 is I go ahead and just glue this together into one track, and this is called Consolidate.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
All right, awesome. So what I'm going to do here is I put this together into one new track. And now I'm going to actually adjust the timing of these using Elastic Audio, okay? So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to change this over here on the left-hand side. This little thing here. Let me just do this. This one right here is our Elastic Audio plugin. So I'm going to click on this. Right now it says none. By default, it should say none. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into Polyphonic Mode. This is the one I use most of the time. I click on this, and now you'll see that it now says Polyphonic. Nothing really changes about my track. It still looks the same, but what happens over here on the left-hand side is where it says Waveform. I now have access to a couple more things here. I have access to playlists and analysis. Okay, thanks AJ. Yeah, the shortcut is for Consolidated Clips. All those little clips are joined into one single clip. So here we have analysis and warp, and these two only show up when you're actually using Elastic Audio. Okay, so if I turn my Elastic Audio off to none, see, these two here no longer show up. Analysis and warp are turned off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn it back on. My computer decides that it wants to work. Put it back to polyphonic mode, and I'm going to go back here. So it says analysis and warp, and now we can see those. So the first one we always want to do is we always want to do analysis mode. And what analysis does is it shows us our transients in here. So what is a transient? A transient is when I have a drum loop or something like that. It's the hard attack of a waveform. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull in a drum loop into here real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my desktop. Go to my desktop, go into my... Actually, I'm going to go to my hard drive here, Zaphod. I'm going to grab a sample. Let's grab some hip-hop. Classic hip-hop cuts, loops. So if I go in here and go to Latin time here, this one I think is pretty cool. I'm going to drag this into my session here. And if we look at this, it looks like drums. So we can see all the parts of this here. And so this one, my computer, it comes in as Rhythmic Mode. And so if I go over here to analysis, we can see it's putting a little transient marker, this line right here, on the attack part of every drum. See that, like the kind of fast part of every drum right there? That's what we call my mind just went blank. That's what we call the not attack. My mind just completely went blank on this. The transient. Sorry, my mind was looking for an A word. So the transient is this hard attack here for the waveform. You can see this, and so look how easy it's really easy to see with drums, but with vocals it's a lot more tricky to see where the transient goes. And so you can see Pro Tools is kind of struggling here with the vocal. It's kind of putting a lot of transients in here. So when we're doing vocal stuff, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of to work with these transients, just a little bit. But once you get good at it, you can kind of go in and decide which ones you want to keep and which ones you don't want to keep, okay? So whenever we're working with elastic audio, the first step, and please write this down in your notes, the first step to working with elastic audio is to clean up your transients. Clean up transients. For drums, transients are very easy to clean up. It's very easy to see where the transient is. For vocals or like strings, stuff like that, it's going to be more difficult. So whenever you're working with this stuff though, you always want to try to clean up your transients. So with this vocal part here, let me just go ahead and make these drums a lot smaller so we're not looking at them so much. So with these vocals here, I want to take these transients and kind of move them around to the beginning of my audio like wave here, the blob of the audio. And what I can do is I can hold down my option key, and it will put a little minus there in my hand, and it will get rid of that transient marker. So any transient that's just kind of hanging out here, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it so it's not interfering with everything. So all these here, I'm just going to or you can also double click them to get rid of them. I'm going to keep that one there here on the beginning. I'm going to get rid of all these. And if I want to move something around, I can move this one around. Maybe this one should be moved around as well. I'm not really sure. We'll have to listen to it. Just by looking at it, sometimes it's a little bit hard to see what you should or should not be doing with it. And I'm going to keep this one right here. Now, I might want to move these around later. I have to go back. Like, really, I'm just going to go back and listen to these in a second. Right now, we're just kind of showing you what to do. But like I said, with vocals, it's a little bit tricky to understand exactly what we're meant to be doing. And because I'm like zoomed in on this, like double clicking on these is not always working. It'll work a lot better if you're not like zoomed in on your monitor like this. And also this little red circle around my mouse. Whoops, let's keep that one. The little red circle around my mouse also affects stuff. So, all right, there we go. So now I went through and I just cleaned these up a little bit. You can see how nice and clean they are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and listen again. And I'm going to move some of these around to make sure they all fit with the metronome here. So everything is going to fit nice. I remember this one here is a little bit weird, but the first step before we do anything is adjust these transient markers. Now, in Pro Tools, in all the DAWs actually, the transient markers are actually separate from something called the warp markers. So right now we're dealing with the transient markers, and the transient markers is literally just like a roadmap for Pro Tools to kind of be able to adjust to later. So over here, analysis mode, you notice that if I move something around, it doesn't actually adjust the audio at all. It's literally just adjusting this line that lays on top of the audio. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to warp. Once I change it to warp, the gray lines get like less hard. They're more grayed out. They kind of like become transparent a little bit. Now what this warp section does is it allows me to actually move the audio around. So let's go back and listen to this. I've got the click on, I'm listening to it, and so I can go back and I can make adjustments now. So let's listen and decide where we are going to make adjustments.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
All right, great. So the main one I want to fix is this one right here. This one right in here, okay? This is the main one that I want to fix. So here's how I'm going to fix it. First of all, I'm going to keep my transient marker right here. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one over here. I do not know why my computer is... Oh, I know why. Hold on. Maybe I know why. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why my computer is like always... It's like flashing that little pinwheel like all the time. I think it's just because it's not happy about how much stuff I'm running. Let me turn this off actually, and let me quit this one as well. Yeah, let's see if that'll help. Probably not. But so what I did was I just locked in the transient marker here for on the left and the right of the one I actually want to use. And what that does is it actually kind of puts that in place and anchors it down. So if I double click on these, notice how this now became this kind of like a triangle-y thing like that. Well, what that means is this one is not going to move. This one's not going to move. I'm going to move the one in the center here. I'm just going to move this over like this. Let's see what this sounds like. You saw I dragged this one over, so I might want to anchor it right here in the beginning. But let's listen to this, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
That sounded really good. Let's check that out one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
All right. So let's listen to it as it was before this. I'm going to go back to this one here. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me go back to this one. I'm gonna get rid of these for just a second. I'm gonna duplicate this so we have another step along the way. I'm gonna duplicate this. Boom. I'm gonna lock this one in place. Here we go. Here we go. Move this one over like that. There we go, like that. Okay. So now we have the original here. Let's listen to this.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8,
Hear how fast that is right there? Let me go ahead and start it from right there.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Okay, so I got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the other one that we just did. And you can hear the timing on that. Listen to the timing on this.
5, 6,
7, 8,
5, 6.
7, 8.
You hear how it's kind of weird sounding though? That's not great. Hold on, let's listen
1,
to it from the beginning.
2, 3, 4,
5, 6.
7, 8, 9.
Okay, so what happened was when I stretched this one over here, it makes this one smaller, but it makes this one longer. Here's the thing about elastic audio is elastic audio, if you make it longer, which is going to slow it down, and remember it's disconnecting the pitch from the timing. So if you slow it down like that, it's having to stretch it way out, okay? So what we're going to do here is instead of stretching the whole thing, we're just going to stretch a section. So I'm going to get rid of this one here. So this one goes back to normal. I'm actually going to put a warp marker right here, over here on this side. So I'm going to double click right there and it puts a warp marker in right there. And now I'm going to stretch this one just a little bit, like that. Let's listen.
5, 6,
7, 8,
Much better.
5, 6,
7, 8,
Okay.
5, 6,
7, 8.
Let me get rid of this warp marker here.
5, 6,
See how it's like it's pulling the whole thing here?
5, 6,
And you can hear that. It's pulling it a little bit. Let's do it one more time.
5, 6,
7.
If I put a warp marker here, it's going to help to keep this sounding good. Now, this is what I'm explaining to you is kind of a mixture of beginner elastic audio and advanced elastic audio. The part I'm talking about right now is more advanced stuff. So if you've already used elastic audio before and you're good, like you've used it and you're kind of like not understanding some of it, like AJ says, now it makes sense. Maybe AJ, you've used some elastic audio in the past and you were wondering why it would do some stuttering and why it did some weird stuff. But other people who maybe haven't used elastic audio are going, wow, this is super complex. It is complicated. And the main thing I want you to take away from elastic audio is that it allows you to adjust the timing of stuff. But I'm kind of mixing up beginner stuff with advanced stuff right now because I want to try to cover multiple bases with this. So the beginner part of elastic audio for beginners is you can use it to move your timing around. That's the most beginner part. Once you start moving your timing around, if you're paying attention, you're going to hear weird things happening. Let me just show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one here. Whoops, I'm going to get, that's the wrong one. I'm going to get rid of this one here. I'm going to, no, that's also the wrong one. Oh no, this is correct. I'm just going to stretch this one way over like this. Now listen to this when I say the word 6.
5, 6,
7,
Hear how long this gets?
5, 6,
7, 8.
Yeah. And so the timing is not correct. I'm just doing it to kind of so you can hear what happens.
7,
5, 6,
Hear how weird that sounds? If I want to stretch it over, sometimes it's better to put a warp marker in, like right in here somewhere, and stretch it so this like middle part here is not getting, so the main part is not getting stretched. This part with just the air is getting stretched.
5, 6,
7, 8,
5, 6,
7, 8.
You can actually still
11, 12.
computer, come on. You can actually still hear the what they call artifacts, the weirdness. You can hear that right in here, but because this is just basically air, it's not super noticeable.
5, 6,
7, 8.
Right? And if we had music going on in the background, the music would mask that. And I can stretch this over pretty far,
5, 6,
7, 8.
right? But because it's not doing it to the main part over here, we're not hearing it as much. Listen to it if I do it to the main part.
5, 6,
See how weird that sounds?
5, 6,
Okay, let me put it back.
5, 6,
7, 8.
Cool, and I can even stretch this one a little bit more just to make it sound a little bit more natural.
5, 6,
7, 8.
But the more you stretch it, the weirder it's going to sound. T said a while back, he said, this is a very good lesson. I hope I get good at this because I do so much editing and still do. Absolutely, yes. This is something that you really need to get good at because this really can make the difference between a good editing engineer and a great editing engineer. People really need editing engineers who are good at elastic audio because I think that a lot of people aren't really that great at it. I've watched people use elastic audio. I've used elastic audio a lot myself, and I think that I've just watched people and I'm just like, wow, I'm surprised at how still people don't really understand what's going on with this stuff. And I've been using this now since Ableton Live came out because Ableton Live was the first one to have this kind of functionality. And so I've been using this for 20 years now, since 2001. And it's something that I really practiced a lot in both Pro Tools and Ableton Live. And I'm really good at it. But I think that it's not that hard. Like, you can be good at it, but you have to practice it. So let's go in here and clean up these ones here in the beginning.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this one in place. I'm going to put a marker here, and I'm going to do that by double clicking, like right there, boom. Now, you notice there was no, there's no transient marker here before. If I wanted to, I could put a transient marker in by going back to my analysis and just double clicking in here and putting a transient. And I can move this around without moving the audio around. But we don't need to actually do that. We can just do this without putting an elastic audio transient marker in there. Let's see here. Keith says practice makes perfect. Yep, absolutely. And then T says I go back to detail. How much detail does a person care about in their creation? Absolutely. Yep, totally. How much, like, and this is like something that's really important. It's like, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right. And the more detail you put into it, the better you get at this stuff. The more people want to work with you, because this is like the difference between something that sounds good and something that sounds amazing. And you know, these days there's so many people doing this that you have to be on the top of the game. So it's good to practice this stuff. All right, so I'm going to put a warp marker right here, and I'm going to move these over. Now, the reason why I put a warp marker here and here is because it locks those down. Those are like anchors. So it's going to anchor them in place so they're not going to move. And I can mess around with these ones here in the middle part. So I'm going to move these around. And now the timing should be better.
3, 4.
Let's listen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5.
Okay, this one here is also, I'm going to go ahead and move this 4 over a little bit. Move these just a little bit back.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9.
The 7's a little bit too slow.
1, 2, 3.
This one a little bit faster.
One, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Great. Let's listen to that 9, 10 part.
7, 8, 9,
10.
11.
This one might be a little bit fast here, so I'm going to put a marker right here, and I'm going to make sure I anchor this one in place, and just move this over like that.
11, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Awesome. And then I'm just going to take this one, and I'm going to stretch this one out, but I'm going to do it slightly differently, okay? We're going to come back to that. One thing I do want to show you, though, is if you notice, if I click with my grabber tool down here in the bottom part, it selects everything. All the warp markers get selected in here. Well, this this is fine if I want to move the entire clip. While all my warp markers are selected, if I move one, it's going to move everything. Or if I grab this one here, it just moves everything around. So if you are clicking on stuff, you see it looks like this where everything is grayed out. Make sure you click somewhere with your selector tool to deselect everything. So if I look like this, I just deselect it and it goes back to looking like this, and now I can move one at a time. Because you can also move two of these warp markers at the same time by selecting two of them and moving them around. You probably do not want to do that right now. It's gonna take you a second. I've had definitely people who come up to me and say, Tony, I can't move one warp marker. It's not letting me move. It's moving everything, and that's because you've got the whole clip selected. You've selected the entire clip. So we need to be really careful here. And if you want to select just make sure you're aware of what's actually selected. So you're going to be using your selector tool a lot in conjunction with your grabber tool. And if you want to grab the whole thing like that, you can select just a part of it. You can highlight this part and select that. There's all sorts of different options here, but you got to kind of learn how to use these. That's really important because it is confusing at first. Okay, so one other thing I'm going to show you here is let's deal with this part over here. And in order to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the waveform. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go right here on the down on this first I'm going to cut it right here. Boom. Command E to separate the clip. And now I've got this little clip here separated out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different technique for cutting this out, or for slowing it down. Instead of going into my warp mode and dealing with these three separate transient markers here, I could do this. I could just take this and grab it and do like that, or put warp markers in and put more markers in and kind of move them over like this. I could do that, but all I want to do is I want to just kind of drag the whole thing over. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to grab a different tool here. Make sure it's in waveform mode. And I'm going to grab my Tce tool. The Tce tool stands for Time Compression Expansion. We're going to talk about that in more detail in a minute, but with my elastic audio turned on my track, if I click and drag this over, now it's just kind of spreading everything out. So let's listen to this.
12.
There we go. Move that back. I'm going to keep this one here like this.
12.
Yeah, cool. Listen.
10,
11. 12.
Cool. So you can hear these need to be a little bit more spread out individually. So I will go back in and adjust them individually. That kind of got me a ways towards where I want to go. But let me use my warp markers here and spread this over. I'm going to move this one, maybe, whoops. I got to put my warp markers in here like this. Double click. Whoops. It depends on if there's a warp marker after it, if you have to double click or not. It's a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to say double click here. I'm going to move this one over like this a little bit, and this one here is going to go over like that. I'm going to move this one over as well. Let's listen.
10,
11. 12.
Cool, there we go. Move this back over like this, just a little bit.
10,
11. 12.
There we go, cool. So now I can listen to the whole thing, which should be pretty good. Go back to my waveform. Let's listen.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11. 12.
Okay, cool. Let's listen to how it sounded first, in the very beginning, after I first comped it. Let's go all the way back to that number 1 here and listen to how garbagey this sounds.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11. 12.
Right? It's all sorts of pops and clicks, lots of gaps in the silence, like all sorts of things are going on here. Let's listen to how it sounds right now.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11. 12.
That sounds great. The only weird part is this little bit in here between 10 and 11. Sorry, between 6 and 7. But if you had anything else happening, you wouldn't notice that at all. Like if I had any kind of string part or something like that going on, you wouldn't notice it at all. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is we're just going to go into our notes here for a second. T says great exercise. Yeah, thanks. I think it's a really cool exercise as well, actually. So we're just going to go into the notes here and just take a look at some of these here and just read through some of this stuff here just to kind of get a little bit of a more understanding about the different elastic audio, like what's happening here. So again, elastic audio allows you to make timing adjustments to your audio. There are actually 4 different modes of elastic audio. Today we only dealt with polyphonic mode, or so far we've only dealt with polyphonic mode, and we can go in and we can deal with the other modes here in a minute. Polyphonic mode, what it does is it allows you to basically it works best for full songs. Now what these different modes do is these are basically different algorithms. It's different programming for how the computer deals with the audio. Some of them are more heavy than other ones. Heavy meaning harder on your CPU. Polyphonic is really good for full songs or vocals, anything where you've got rhythm and a lot of transients mixed with non-transients and stuff like that. Polyphonic sounds the best overall, but it is also the heaviest on your CPU. So you want to be careful about using polyphonic. If you're not doing a lot of elastic audio, then please use polyphonic. It's great. But if you are doing a lot of elastic audio, or you're doing a lot of like processing on your computer, maybe you want to look into some of the other modes. Rhythmic mode is really good for drums, rhythmic instruments, detached melodic instruments, anything that's got space between the parts that you're moving around. So like drum beats are usually really good. Not always, but usually drum beats are really good. Bass lines, bum 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 bum. You know, something where you've got space between the notes, or like a piano part that's like bum 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 bum, like any kind of space between the notes there. Rhythmic mode is actually really good for that. Monophonic is for solo or non-chord instruments. I do not use monophonic ever. I like never use monophonic. It does not sound very good in my ears. And then Vari-Speed is the same as a record player. Actually, Vari-Speed is more naturalizing stuff. It still allows you to move the pitch, but it still allows you to adjust the timing of the track, but it reconnects the pitch with the speed. So if I make speed adjustments, it's gonna actually, you're gonna hear it go up and down. So how do I get to these various elastic audio plugins here? Well, it's right over here on the left side of the track under the name. It's this little button here, and you click on it, and here it shows you your different elastic audio, what they call plugins in Pro Tools. So we've got polyphonic, rhythmic, monophonic, and Vari-Speed. Let me just show you what this sounds like, this vocal here. So let's listen to it one time with polyphonic.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Sounds nice and smooth. Let's listen to it with rhythmic mode. It should sound pretty good still.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Okay, you can hear it sounds a little bit weird. There's small little things in it that are happening. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I hear it really clearly. Monophonic.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Yeah, like I said, monophonic is usually garbage. I don't like monophonic at all. And then Vari-Speed. This one's going to sound weird.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
That one sounds weird because there's a lot of speeding up and slowing down. So you can hear the pitches going up and down, right? It's super strange. So, like I said, polyphonic is the best one. There's a little example for you. T says, ouch. I totally agree, T. We get spoiled with polyphonic. Polyphonic does sound really good. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is good stuff in here. This exercise that I'm doing, this is elastic audio. We are going to talk about using Melodyne and Auto-Tune and stuff like that, because those also do things like this, and they do it a little bit better because they're programs that are specifically designed to tackle this kind of stuff. So like if you have access to Melodyne, I highly recommend using Melodyne for doing any kind of, especially for your voice, for doing stuff to the voice, because it does work better than, it sounds way better than using Pro Tools Elastic Audio. Pro Tools Elastic Audio sounds fantastic. It is the best sounding one out of the whole bunch of DAWs, but Melodyne, it specifically does this. This is all it does, so it sounds even better than Pro Tools. So let's go back to, let me just show you that real quick. Let's go back to number 2. Actually, no, let's go back to number 3. Number 3 was the one where I had comped them together, but I hadn't done my pitch timing yet. So this one here is number 3.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, there's nothing going on there. And we're gonna save this one here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a star next to this. So we save that one for the future. And when we talk about Melodyne and stuff in a few weeks, remind me to come back to the counting exercise and show you in there, because that's a good one to use for that. All right, so now let's go in here and look at this with the drums. I'm gonna go ahead and put this drums in here, and I'm gonna make this big. And the drums, we're gonna keep them in rhythmic mode. I'm gonna go ahead and take the whole thing and move it all over. So I'm gonna put it back in waveform mode. Gonna go ahead and turn on my grid mode here. There we go. Make sure the grid mode here. And let's listen to the drums right now just by themselves. I'm going to mute the thing here. I'm going to turn on my metronome. Let's listen to the drums here. Let's listen to the drums first with the metronome off. Okay, so first of all, the drums sound really good by themselves, but let's listen to them with the metronome on. Completely off. Right? They're not matched up, and that's because my drums are not set for my tempo of the song. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this. Now, there's a really easy way to do this with loops. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my drums match the tempo of the song, not the other way around. There is a way to do it the other way around, but I don't want to do that. I want the drums to match the tempo of the song. The easiest way to do this is I'm going to figure out how long of a loop these drums are, and I'm going to make them match the same number of bars in the song. Okay? So step number 1 is I'm going to count what the length of my loop is. All right, step number 1, figure out the loop length. So let's turn off the metronome here and let's listen to these drums and talk about how long they are. So let's count together. Okay, ready? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, boom. Okay, so how long are the drums? The drums are 4 bars long. They are 4 bars long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. They're 4 bars long. Let's listen to that one more time and count with me again. Okay, ready? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to count my 4 bars in Pro Tools. So we got 1 bars right here. That's 1 bar. And then we got another bar right here. And I got another bar right here. And I got another bar right here. Boom. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 bars in Pro Tools. I wonder why anybody thinks that's like spamming somebody makes like people go, oh yeah, I want to buy followers and I want to become famous. Like, I don't know why anybody thinks that is something that I would want to do. And if I wanted to do it, I know I can do it. I don't need people spamming my Twitch stream. It's just super annoying. It doesn't do anything except make people angry. I'm going to sick my pandas on them. All right. So we've got the 4 bars here. What I want to do is I want to make my loop here fit into this 4 bars here. No, I get it. I know it's a bot, but I just wonder why people make those bots in the first place, unless they're just trying to annoy people. If they're just trying to like do it for evil intent. But if they're actually trying to do it to sell stuff, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I guess maybe it's just for spam. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. Okay. So, because it's not like people on Twitch are like little old ladies who don't understand about technology and they think like, oh, this prince in Africa really does need my money. It's not like that. It's like most of these people on Twitch are probably pretty savvy. Just to even get on Twitch, you have to be decently tech savvy. So the people who are tech savvy know that bots exist, and if they want to, they know that you can buy followers, and if you want to buy followers, they would probably buy followers. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't understand why somebody took the time to create. T, you are a prince. You are a prince. I don't know why they took the time to create these things. I mean, it's like a lot. It takes time to do this. Like, why would somebody do that in the first place? Anyway, sorry, I digress. Like, a lot of digression. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this loop and we're going to fit it to this space of time here. So the way we do this is, first of all, I'm going to make sure I'm in, it's a drum loop, right? So let's make sure I'm in rhythmic mode here. Boom, I'm in rhythmic mode. There we go. You can ignore that if that pops up. Now I'm going to use my Tce tool here, right here. Boom, I'm going to use the Tce tool. I'm going to drag it over until it fits the end of the bars here. So now let's take a listen to the click. I'm going to mute the drums. Let's listen to the click. Wait, oops. There's my click. Now let's do the drums with the click. Cool. And it sounds pretty good. I'm going to adjust this decay rate a little bit so it sounds even better. I'll put a little bit of gaps in there, but actually that sounds good right there. And now the drums will fit my counting.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Now we notice once we do this, the vocals actually sound a little bit worse. Some of these are a little bit more off than we thought they were. So I'm going to turn off my Tce tool. I'm going to go back to my smart tool up here. Let's make another duplicate of this and let's fix that so they sound perfect, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to use my warp here. And let's grab that number 8 there. And here's this. We're going to move this over like that. There we go. Boom.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
Move this 9 over as well. There we go. Let's listen.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Move the 10 over. Cool. Let's move this 2 over as well, because I've noticed that with the drums on, it really kind of hear that beginning part. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to start this in a slightly different place. If I was using Ableton Live, I would do this a little bit differently. Ableton Live, I find, is a little bit better for this kind of stuff. Especially if you're using, like, if you're doing dealing with loops and stuff like that. Ableton Live is a little bit better for that. So here we go. Let's do this and move this first part over here, over to here. Boom. There we go. Okay, cool. So we got that.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Great. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12.
Cool. And move this one over.
2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10.
11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
I'm going to make this into a
7,
triplet
8,
here.
9,
10.
11, 12.
Triplet here.
2, 3, 4,
5,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
Maybe not.
7,
Maybe the triplet
8,
doesn't work that well.
9,
10,
11, 12.
Or maybe dotted. Mess around with this a little bit more. Let's see. What do we got? Dotted 16th? Yeah, let's try that. Just trying to make this like so the rhythm sounds pretty good here.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
There we go. That sounds cool, yeah. And it's
1,
in rhythm.
2, 3, 4,
My dog is going crazy.
7, 8, 9,
10,
11, 12.
Yep. Great. That sounds really good. And you notice, because we have all these other drums and all these other things happening, that we're not noticing any of the little artifacts in here with the counting anymore, because now our attention is being divided over to these drums. So any kind of little small imperfections that are in there, we're not going to notice. We're not going to hear those anymore. So that's a thing to really keep in mind with all this stuff, is that as you get, the more you can cover things up, you can kind of fake a little bit here and there. And kind of get away with more. It's the same principles as like magic. You're really diverting, or sleight of hand, stuff like that. You're diverting people's attention, and so they don't notice what you're doing to make the trick happen. Okay, so that's what's going on here. So this is like a cool little thing we can do. So, and then using this drum loop here. Now, let's say I wanted to adjust some kind of rhythm in this drum loop. Well, what I can do is I can put this into warp mode down here, and we're still in our rhythmic mode. And let's just go in here, let's zoom in, and I can move some of these around actually if I wanted to. Now, what I'm about to do is not going to sound great, but I want to do it because I want to just give you some examples of what you can do. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to like this.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Awesome.
3,
Okay, we got this.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Fix this one a little bit here.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
There we go.
3.
Sounds better.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
Now let's fix this drum line a little bit here. We're going to put it back into grid. Let's keep it in slip mode. I'm going to keep it in slip mode so I can move things around a little bit more easily. But I'm going to double click here on my snare drum.
1, 2, 3.
And I'm going to move some of these around. So I'm going to keep my kick drum here. And I'm just going to go in. I'm going to just adjust the tempo on these. Like this. And it's going to sound kind of weird. But, whoops. But you're going to hear how we can do this.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Cool. This one's a little bit weird. I'm going to go ahead and change this decay rate. Bring it down. Cool. And I can adjust these tempos in here. Move these around. Huh. Cool.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
And you can hear how I'm changing the rhythms around just by messing with it. Now, would I do this in real life? Would I change the rhythms like this? No, I probably wouldn't change the rhythms like this in real life, because it doesn't, like, I don't love what it's doing right now. But I just want to show you what you can do with all this. And again, I'm kind of mixing more advanced stuff along with the beginner stuff. Although the changing the rhythms around is really just beginner stuff with this, okay? So that's really what we're looking at here with the Elastic Audio. So let's just go back and read some of these notes again here. The track views, you've got analysis view and warp view, and you've got warp markers. And what that is the analysis view. Remember, the analysis view is this one right here, and it just shows you the transients. And the transients, we can move these around, and it doesn't, well, that one actually does move stuff, but this one here, for example, it's not going to move anything around. It's the transient's not really connected to the audio there. It's just a marker to show you stuff. And if I go to warp, this is where we actually can make changes to things. So with Pro Tools, you have two different views. You have the analysis view and the warp view. And then the warp marker is an anchor that locks the audio into a certain time, okay? So the track views here, and remember, these track views are not accessible until you actually put an elastic audio plugin on the track. So this elastic audio, until you put the track into elastic audio mode, you're not gonna have access to these here. So if I make a new audio track, for example, you're just gonna come up with no elastic audio. Mine is still doing that weird preference thing, which I need to fix here after this. But I got this over here. See, analysis and warp are grayed out right down here. No analysis, no warp. Over here, I can get to analysis and warp, and that's because my elastic audio is turned on for this one. It's turned off for this one over here. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind. At some point, you're gonna forget about that, and you're gonna be like, why is my analysis and warp modes, warp views turned off? I need to see them. That's because you don't have the elastic audio actually turned on the track. T says, I really like this tool, yummy. I totally agree, T. This is like magic right here. This one mixed with the stuff we talked about yesterday with playlists and everything. Super, super, super important. Okay, and this just tells you more about the algorithms here. It just kind of goes into more detail about the algorithms. You got polyphonic, rhythmic, and monophonic. Polyphonic is the best all round. When in doubt, use polyphonic. Always use polyphonic. It's specifically good for full songs, but you heard that it worked magic here today for the vocals. Rhythmic mode is any clip that has disconnected audio. It's non-legato, so drums, bass, rhythm, piano, guitar, stuff like that. And what that does is it looks like this. What it's actually doing is actually cutting up the audio by all these individual lines right here. So it cut up the audio according to the transients and treats each part as a separate sample. So all this stuff in here, see all these little lines that are here? These transient markers here, these are all treated as separate blocks of sound in here. They're all treated as separate blocks of sound. And so each one is its own little sample. So I could raise the pitch or lower the pitch of all of them as a whole. Check this out. What does that mean? Well, I can go in here to my, into here. I can highlight everything. And I can right click on it and I can go to elastic properties, and now I can go in here, I can change the pitch. So you highlight the clip with, I can use waveform or whatever, you can go back to waveform mode like this, and I can go to my pitch shift. Let's just pitch this up by an octave, 12 semitones. Now let's listen to it. And it sounds kind of weird. Let me just go ahead and change something here. There we go. I could push it down by an octave. So you can do all sorts of weird stuff with this. There we go.
4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
And if I want to, you can hear how it's kind of bouncing around a little bit. The reason why it's bouncing around is because I have these warp markers getting here. So how do you get into the elastic properties? You highlight the clip and you right click it and you select elastic properties. That's how you highlight them. Yep, yeah. It's hard, yeah. No, I know, yeah, I get it. I understand you. I'm with you. It's hard, meaning it's dope. Yep, I got it. Let me get rid of this one here. Why is that one not disappearing? There we go. So some of these here.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
yeah.
3, 4. 1, 2,
Yeah, I agree.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
4.
Cool.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you can do all sorts of interesting stuff with this. It's an interesting way to work. Just keep in mind that it's there. People always kind of forget about it and they try to do this stuff in different ways. But you can do some really neat stuff if you start to learn how to control your elastic audio like that. Okay, and that's rhythmic mode there. It just cuts everything up into pieces. This stuff here we should hold off for like another day. This is telescoping mode. It lengthens or shortens the entire clip like a telescope or an accordion. You can hold Option to make it go to right anchor or left anchor. What that does is if I have, oops, hold on a second. I'm using the wrong. If I have this one here, see how there's no anchors. Let me just get rid of all these anchors here. There's no anchors. If I grab one and move it, check this out. It's got a little, see that like little, the way my cursor looks? If I move these around, it moves everything like an accordion. That's called telescope mode, or telescoping. It's not really a mode, it's just how it works. And then if you hold shift, I can actually put, whoops, I can actually go in here and watch what happens. If I hold shift, it does this thing here. And it automatically puts warp markers on either side of my current warp marker. Like that. Which is kind of cool. Okay. So that's what the shift key does when you're in warp mode. Cool. I think that's good for now. That brings us to about an hour of recording and talking. So let me go ahead and stop the recording here.